Congratulations on the win. What are you guys focusing on this weekend ahead of the Showdown?
The Showdown's probably still a little bit away, 5 days. I mean, we'll get in today and we'll review the game against North Melbourne, which, look, we're happy with the resilience to get the result in the end. A few things didn't go our way early. North were terrific, especially in the second quarter, but it was really pleasing to get together at half time, have a talk about a few things we needed to improve on, and the boys went out there and acted on it. So I think the second half was really pleasing, and it's good to have that little bit of confidence going into this week.
Chad Corns actually said today that he hates your football club, and Port also hate your football club. Do you feel the same way?
What, the Port Adelaide hate Adelaide? Yeah, I do feel that Port Adelaide hate Adelaide. I think that is true. But no, look, that's it's a very strong word, hate, isn't it? I think no matter who you play, there has to be an element of hate. That you hate getting beaten. You have to be competitive at this level. In terms of us as a football club, we know what it means to our supporters, but we're making sure what we're building here is there's an element of hate in terms of us getting beaten 1v1 or getting beaten week to week. We want to be better than that no matter who we're playing.
And he said to lose would be unacceptable. Do you agree with that from your end?
Well, that's his words with Port Adelaide. I think the thing with both teams at the moment is that, unfortunately this is our last week we're playing. We'd love to be playing again. We think we're starting to build something here. There's obviously a lot of young players coming through. If you want to go through the last week's games, to have Saligo and Schoenberg and Berry, I think first, second and third year players in that midfield, and to be able to turn that around, there's a lot of things we want to see going forward. We'd be certainly looking at the bigger picture, but in 5 days there's a pretty big game in Adelaide, and I'm sure our supporters would love us to be winning this game.
How is Berry? Was it sore, dying stages of that game, Scott?
Yeah, there's a few that were sore. Yeah, there's it's coming up to round 23 now, so there's certainly a collective amount of hits that you do get in the season that can certainly wear you down. But he's done a terrific job. If he's not leading the tackles, he's not far off it in the competition. So he's been a huge physical presence for us inside, in and around the ball. But I think he'd freshen up and be okay for this week.
Defensively, what do you think you learned from the way that you couldn't stop Davies-Uniacke until sort of the last quarter when Sam went to him?
Yeah, I thought we turned it around in the third as well, though. I thought the last half was really pleasing. And mind you, when we talk about first half, the first quarter we pretty much dominated, except for the last minute when we let them kick a couple goals towards the end. So it was really the second quarter where they completely got on top, and I think there's an old ruckman there that's not getting too much credit in Goldstein. I thought he was terrific for that period of time too, and just the power and speed of Uniacke to be able to burst through, and Simpkin at times too. That was probably the one thing we have been good at in terms of holding our tackles for the last 4 to 6 weeks, but they just could break tackles and got through, and they put the defenders under the pump a bit on too many occasions in that second quarter.
The third quarter was outstanding. I think it felt like a finals type game from being down there. How do you feel like your players handled that heat to respond? It must have been pretty pleasing for you.
Yeah, it is, but I still think the week previous, the Josh Kennedy last game over at West Coast, if you weren't there, you probably don't really feel or understand it. There was 50,000 people. It was that noisy, that loud, and they came at us hard at the start of that last quarter. So for the boys to be able to really respond in that situation, that environment, that was really pleasing as from a coaching staff going forward, that we know we've got some boys who are pretty resilient and can focus on the moment and not get too caught up in what's happened before or what's just happened. So it's certainly a strength of ours. We believe that we've got boys that stay in the moment and can put things that have happened in the past that maybe haven't worked out of their mind and completely focus on what's going to happen next.
Looking to the Showdown, just following up on sort of where Em was going, are we in the Showdowns to be level with Port Adelaide on wins for the year? I think you'll draw level on 9 wins, 10 wins, 9 wins. For them to be in the mix for a prelim or in the prelim last year and have a 2 at the finals, for you guys to finish on the same amount of wins, what does it say about the gains that you've made, do you think?
Yeah, we probably don't compare to other teams as much. It's more where we've come from. We've reduced the list again in terms of age and experience this year, so it's there was always a little bit of an unknown, and when you lose Sloan and Seedsman for basically the 12 months, can put a little bit more pressure on the senior players that are playing, but our senior players have been fantastic. When you look at Tex and Lairdy and Smith and those sort of boys that have performed week in, week out. But it was hard early for people to see because we weren't as consistent from quarter to quarter. But I think if you look at the last 6 to 8 weeks, the majority of the times we've been in the contest and you can slowly see the improvement of, like we've talked about the midfield in Berry and Schoenberg. People have spoken about Murray at times throughout this year, but Fogarty's the other one that's been fantastic for us as well. And we still believe we've got a fair bit of talent that are playing SNFL at this stage, so there's a lot of upside.
McAdam a definite out with that hamstring?
Not definite yet, no. I think you'll get a scan within the next 24 hours, so we'll know a little bit more.
Okay, yeah. Hopeful Miller will be up this week?
Yeah, hopefully. It wasn't anything too serious. He was a little bit sore, so we just made sure, err on the side of caution. 6-day turnaround, flying back from Perth, and obviously a big game this week. And he's come a long way, Wayne, in terms of where he's been over the last few years. So he's one that we didn't want to take any risks with. We're really happy with how he's progressed over the season.
Strong performance again in the sandful from a lot of your guys. One game remaining. Are you tempted to give someone like a New Church a look in just so he can have something to go on with over the off-season and building towards next year?
Yeah, not necessarily in terms of, do they need to have a look at the level in terms of I guess the professionalism they might need over the pre-season. We're really happy with the development of a lot of our players, and I mean, you look at that game, if you watch closely, like Frampton and Davis across half-back were excellent. You've got Haitley and Crouch, and little Zachy Taylor's going really well inside. They were superb. Strawn could nearly be the best ruckman outside of the AFL at the moment. His consistent form's been sensational, and you've got Gallant popping up and kicking 5 goals as well, and Tariq obviously with his 3. So it's really pleasing going forward. There's going to be a lot of competition for spots over the next 12 months.
Just on Darcy Fogarty, obviously we've talked a lot about him for the back half of the year. He seems to be having a lot of impact late in games as well, particularly in the last month. How pleased are you that maybe he's getting more in the tank and he's been able to run out games really well and hitting the scoreboard late? Yeah,
there's a bit of that probably too. There's no doubt when you're performing late in games, it certainly fitness does come into it, but I think there's no doubt there's a will to win and there's a desire to compete, and he's really embracing that at this point in time. And he has shown glimpses over the previous 2 to 3 years. But what you're getting now is someone who's been more consistent over 4 quarters, and if you've got players who can stand up late in games when they're needed, and especially key forwards who can take a couple of big marks, and as we all know, when he has a set shot with inside 50, he's pretty accurate. So he's an extremely important player, and there's no doubt that's reduced the load on Tex a little bit too, which has been really pleasing.
And Shane McAdam, you said during the year you've been really happy with what he's done, but a bit disappointing he hasn't been able to get consistency with his body this year.
Yeah, he's had a few little niggles, but once again, he's put himself in a terrific position with the work he's done over the pre-season. So I think he had an ankle there at one stage, and obviously he's a bit sore this week at the moment. So, but we've been really pleased. It's a dynamic that's very threatening to opposition backlines. When you got Tex and Fogg and Riley, then you add Shane into that mix as well. They're tools, but they're also very good at ground level. So it's hard to match up with.
Coming from a 2-team town, off the back of what Theo said, this Showdown win and actually finishing on the same level as Port Adelaide, do you think that would be pleasing for supporters, to have some tangible evidence of improvement?
Oh, that's there. The supporters see the improvement. So no, this game won't have our supporters walking away thinking we haven't improved. They see it, they know it, and I think everyone knows it in the football world. But what it does do, it puts a smile on their face knowing that you've played Port Adelaide 2 times, and if you've got a 2-0 record from, like I said earlier on radio this morning, you've got a smile on your face from August to February next year. So we understand the importance it is to our supporters and members, and yeah, we're looking forward to it. But just as importantly as coaches, we've played those big games like we've had against West Coast and then Carlton here under intense pressure. So it's just another opportunity for our younger fellas to get out there and really absorb the heat and pressure that Port will bring.
Given that you've won the last few games, do you feel like you've got the momentum coming into this game to win?
Yeah, there's a little bit of momentum, but I mean, if you look at Port, they're 1 from 4 from their last 5, but the losses they've had have been against the top teams in the competition. They've been playing terrific football, so it's wins and losses you've got to be careful with. I mean, Port have been playing some really good football, but didn't get the results done over the last month. And I think the work that they've done was evident in what you saw on the weekend when they played Essendon. So they're in pretty good form as well.
How's Will Hamill tracking at the moment?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to talk to Will obviously the last 2 or 3 days, but yeah, no, he's going okay. So we won't take any risks with Will at all. We see him as a long-term part of this football club going forward, and he's another one that I think's really taken steps in his improvement in the way he plays the game, the way he defends, his speed and his ability to break a game open. So we certainly won't be taking any risk with Will.
There's a bit of a relief for Tommy Duday as well, that he was just given a fine. How helpful is that going into the weekend?
Yeah, well, it's helpful in the sense that he's obviously been banged up a bit this year, and we've given him a few weeks to get better. So it's nice that he can finish off this season with a couple of games. And I thought on the weekend that Tommy was a lot cleaner than probably what he had been in those last few games that he did play. So it looks like the couple of weeks really benefited him, having off to freshen up, and there's no doubt he'll be better second up against Port Adelaide this week.
Did you see the bump that he did on Zerha? Were you concerned at any point that he did get reported? Obviously, were you concerned that they're the sort of ones that can go 50-50?
Yeah, not game day, but when I watched the vision, I thought, I didn't quite realise that he got him high like he did. I didn't think there was much. I think when the players get up, that's generally the indication, and it wasn't a huge force that Tommy came with, so there was probably a little bit of a difference.
And just on the Showdown, you said a win has you smiling in all the off-season. What does it do for the young group? I mean, to play in a couple of Showdowns and to start to get the wood over the crosstown rivals, how much belief does it create, and what does it give them in the off-season in terms of a boost personally? Well,
I think that's where we've got to be careful again. We just don't focus on one team. I think the work that we've done over the course of the year gives us confidence going forward. If we're a club that just worries about one team, then we're going nowhere. So there's 17 other teams in this competition that we have to challenge ourselves with and be. We want to be better than half of them. We want to play finals again. Now, whether that comes next year or the year after, I don't know. But I know we've shown improvement. I know that we'll get players to this football club that can help us be a better team. So, we've got players that are playing SNFL football yet that haven't had the opportunity that will really be long-term players for the football club. So I don't like really talking about one specific team and that's the reason that you're going to be good or not, because it's not. You've got to look at things a little bit more holistically than just worry about the team across the road.
All good. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Thanks, mate.